All right, let's take a look at constructed response question number 1. Now, this is a multi-layered question with a lot of moving parts. So you might want to take some notes and be thinking about how you want to approach this question because there's a lot here. So let's take a moment and break down exactly what this question is looking for and how they want us to answer this question. All right, CRQ1, what is it? Well, it's testing you on domains 2 and 3. Let's take a look at that and break it down. What they're looking for here is the entry-level principal routinely monitors instruction through classroom observations and attends teacher-led meetings in order to coach and develop teachers by providing evidence-based feedback to help teachers improve instruction. Simply put, this is a lesson planning question. What they're looking for here is for you to create a more robust lesson plan or help the teacher create a more robust lesson plan. You're going to explicitly teach a skill here, and you're going to cite from a couple of sources that the test makers have provided for you. So let's break down how we're going to do that. Now, inside this question are some noted definitions that you probably need to have a working knowledge of before you even approach the answer to your question. Let's take a look at a few of these. One of them is teacher-led, which is basically the principal can ask open-ended questions, and it's a way to help teachers arrive at the best practice to improve their instruction. Remember, you're the coach here, so you want the teacher to lead and take the lead on improving student instruction and helping students with their learning. You don't want to do this for the teacher. You want to make the teacher create the action. The next one is exemplar, which is simply a best example. Here, it's a model that has the characteristics of a high-quality response. So they're going to provide you as evidence exemplars. These exemplars are high-quality examples that you can use and refer back to. An exit ticket is a short formative assessment given by a teacher after completing a lesson. Exit tickets, it's a little quick assessment. You can use it as some of that hard data that we talked about. And last, high leverage. We talked about high leverage practices. This is the most effective and the most efficient way to address instructional practice. So anytime you see the word high leverage, you're talking about research-based, best practice, anything that is known to be the best way of approaching the situation. Okay, there are 4 parts to constructive response question 1. Let's break down the question, and then we'll break down each of the 4 parts. So let's take a look. So there are 4 parts here. Let's take a look at each one. A, identify one high leverage instructional practice needing improvement. Justify your selection. B, identify one high leverage action step that could be implemented by the teacher to address the instructional practice needing improvement. C, provide one guiding question. And D, explain how the action step and question work together to improve teaching and support learning. So as we said before, this question is a lesson planning question. So the teacher here is working with the principal to create a more robust lesson plan. So we're going to explicitly teach a skill, and we're going to cite evidence from 2 sources that they're giving us. So let's break down how to approach each of these 4 steps. So let's take a look at part A. Identify one high leverage instructional practice needing improvement and justify your selection. So this is kind of easy here. After you read the question, you're going to identify, as the instructional coach, one high leverage instructional practice that you think needs to be fixed here. Now, it could be a variety of things. And as you've already sort of looked at your high leverage instructional practices and the different types that could be used here, you might want to be thinking about what is one really good research-based high leverage instructional practice that you can pull out of your back pocket and teach this teacher right now so that they can improve. But you've got to justify your selection here. You can't just pick something. So once you pick it, make sure it ties back to the evidence that's been provided for you, because you have to justify your selection here. So for example, if you say small group instruction, and you're going to use that as your high-level instructional practice, you've got to justify choosing that from the evidence that was given to you in the question. All right, so let's put this all together. The first thing we want to do is we want to state that instructional practice recommendation. So that high leverage instructional practice that you want to use here, we're going to state it. But remember, we need 2 pieces of evidence. So state your evidence from the artifacts that you were given, and you need to be specific here. Details are going to be your friend. And then state evidence from another separate artifact that they gave you. Remember, 2 different pieces of evidence from 2 different artifacts. You're going to score lower if you provide evidence from the same artifact. So make sure you use 2 different pieces of evidence to support your answer. All right, let's take a look at the second part. Identify 1 high leverage action step that could be implemented by the teacher to address the instructional practice needing improvement. All right, so this is your time to shine. This is your time to be that instructional coach. So what you're going to do here is you're going to identify an action step. You want the teacher to take action. So you've given them a high-level instructional practice that you want them to improve upon. So you want to provide them with some action steps, some things that they can do so that they can improve in this lesson plan question. What do you want them to do? You have to be thinking about here, and this is your chance to talk about what it is that would make the teacher better in their instructional practice. So remember, when we say action step, or when the test makers say action step, this is what the teacher is going to be doing. This is the action they are taking so that they can improve on what you have identified as needing the most support. Now, to answer part 2, just simply state your action step. You're going to explain here why this step is going to make a difference. And when you say your action step, you need to talk about why and how this is going to improve student learning. Remember, anytime we can tie this back to student learning, you're going to do better on the exam. Remember, that's what this is about anyway, improving teachers to lead students to success. So when you explain your action step here in part 2, talk about why this is going to help students. All right, part 3, provide 1 guiding question. But that's you. You're the one providing the guiding question. Remember, you want the teacher to think and contemplate and analyze their teaching practice. This is a part of you being an instructional coach. So after you've identified that high-level instructional practice, and you've given the teacher the action step that you want them to do, you want them to think about their instructional practice. So give them 1 guiding question that will align with the instructional practice and the action step. Remember, all 3 of those things need to be together and similar, and they need to make sense. For part 3, you're just going to state that coaching question. And you remember, you just need to do 1 question, but there's no reason to elaborate here. Remember, you just want the teacher to think about their instructional practice. So state a high leverage guiding question here, but there's no need to elaborate. Just give the question. And part 4, explain how the action step and question work together to improve teaching and support learning. So this is the easy part. You just now get to explain how your guiding question and the action step are related. So this is your chance to kind of write a little bit of a narrative. Why are you telling the teacher to do this information? What is it that you've seen in the evidence and in the question that you think will make them better if they do this action step and think about the question that you gave? So part 4 is just your chance to really talk about what you know and why you think this coaching will work. But just make sure the action step and the guiding question that you ask, they tie together in some sort of way. You don't want them to be dissimilar. You'll do lower on the exam score than you want. So make sure the action step and the guiding question are related. All right, last but not least, explain how the action step and coaching question will work together to improve teaching and learning. Now, this is your big finish here. You need to state the rationale for the action step and the coaching question. So in other words, why are you making these suggestions to the teacher? How is this going to impact the teacher, and how is it going to impact students? And you say this by, it will impact the teacher by, and then fill in the rest. This is your chance to really talk about the coaching and how it's going to impact. Using the evidence that was given to you in the question, the video artifacts, the lesson plans, the exit ticket, whatever it is that they give you, this is your chance to really put it all together and tie it to teacher improvement, student success. This is also a really good chance to show what you know about being a principal. You can throw in here little details like the number of years a teacher's been teaching, or the fact that students were confused when something that maybe you saw in the video. Because the teacher has 5 years of experience, they need this refinement. So Think about the little details that you may have seen when you looked over the artifacts that were given to you. This is the chance to kind of throw in those things that you noticed, because you may have coached this teacher differently if they were a 25-year veteran versus being a brand new teacher. Those little details will really help you get a better score. But speaking of details, don't add things that you think you know, like students love poetry. Yeah, students love poetry, maybe, but you don't really know that because that wasn't given to you as part of evidence in the artifacts. So just because you think something like students love poetry, don't say that in your question. Always tie everything back to what was given to you in the question. Don't make things up. Okay, so that's it. That's our breakdown for CRQ number 1, constructive response question number 1. Now, it's a multi-layered question, and there's a lot here. And this question is going to focus on lesson planning and instruction. So whatever it is, after you read the artifacts and go through the video and the lesson plans and the things that are given to you in the question, once you identify that one high leverage practice, stick with it throughout the entire question. Once you pick it, stick with it. And remember, you don't have to be an expert on the content, okay? This is not about being a math expert or a science expert or a reading expert. It's not about that. This is about instructional coaching. You're trying to help this teacher be better. You're trying to help them grow. So don't worry so much about the content and what you think you know about science or math, etc. This is about instructional growth and student success. Always keep that in mind. Improving the teacher, helping students get better. And lastly, remember, you're the ideal principal here. You're the principal that knows everything, and you're just trying to make this teacher better. You're just trying to get these students where you want them to be. So wherever they are in the question, the principal is you, and you're trying to make this teacher the best that they possibly can be. Good luck. I hope you do great. Take care.